So Caitlin Clark is in Miami. Yes, Caitlin Clark is in Miami right now with Aliyah Boston.
One photo, one city, and suddenly the entire basketball world is on edge. Caitlin Clark just showed up in Miami with Aliyah Boston right in the middle of a CBA lockout. While Unrivaled is running, while Angel Reese is competing, while the entire WNBA is holding its breath, waiting for a deal that could change everything. That single appearance set the internet on fire. Was this just a fun coincidence? Or was it a silent message aimed directly at the league? Because timing like this is never accidental. One location, one moment. And now fans, analysts, and players are all asking the same question. Could Caitlin Clark simply showing up actually shift the power in these CBA negotiations? Or are we all reading too deeply into something harmless? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because once you see what's unfolding here, you might never look at this moment the same way again.
She is probably just going to watch her friends play basketball. It is hilarious. It is hilarious, and who knows? Who knows? Like, a lot of people are saying, no, like, I actually don't think Caitlin Clark is ever going to play in Unrivaled. I just don't. Unless it goes 5v5. But her rocking up to Unrivaled, if she rocks up to a game, and by the way, Lexi Hull, this, if you guys don't know, Friday is going to be the most watched day of Unrivaled, because, yes, I get it, Paige isn't playing, but Aliyah Boston's playing. You've got Lexi Hull, Angel Reese is playing, and Caitlin Clark might be there. Caitlin Clark might be there. There is a possibility that Caitlin Clark will go and watch Unrivaled. I don't think she's going to pull a Sabrina and be on commentary or anything. But there's a possibility that Caitlin Clark decides that she wants to...
Caitlin Clark is in Miami. She's there with Aliyah Boston. And that is the full extent of what is actually confirmed. There is no announcement. No press release. No statement from Clark's camp. Nothing about Unrivaled. Nothing about negotiations. Nothing about strategy, leverage, or chess moves. Just one photo of two people in the same city at the same time. And yet, this is where the story becomes genuinely interesting. Because the timing is so precise and the context is so loaded that brushing it off as a coincidence requires a level of willful ignorance that's almost impossible to maintain with a straight face. Think about what's happening right now. A CBA standoff. A league holding its breath. Unrivaled fighting for ratings and relevance. A moratorium on team activity. And a massive leverage battle happening quietly behind closed doors. Every single piece of this moment points in the same direction. Which is why Caitlin Clark being in Miami right now doesn't feel random. It doesn't feel accidental. And it definitely doesn't feel meaningless. Because in this environment, timing is leverage. And whether intentional or not, this single appearance instantly becomes part of a much bigger conversation, one that could shape the future of the entire league.
She's been in Indiana the entire time. Pretty much in Indiana the entire time. And Unrivaled, obviously, when it comes to their ratings, they haven't been good. But, like, I'm sorry. Caitlin Clark, if it's known that Caitlin Clark is going to be there, she doesn't even have to play. If it becomes a thing where Caitlin Clark is going to be there and Angel Reese is playing as well, at the end of the day, we're now at the stage where this is going to be the most viewed 5v5, or this is going to be...
Let's rewind for a second and set the full scene, because in this story, context is everything. The WNBA and its Players Association are locked in one of the most contentious labor battles in league history. The players have implemented a full moratorium on all team activity. No workouts at team facilities. No communication with coaches. No organized practices. No team-related involvement of any kind. The message is clear: no deal, no season. They are effectively holding the entire 2026 season hostage over CBA demands, while publicly claiming that ownership refuses to negotiate in good faith. But that narrative collapsed in real time. Because when the details of the owner's actual offer leaked, the numbers told a very different story. And not just a little different. The proposal reportedly included over 70% of net revenue going directly to players, average salaries jumping to $530,000, maximum salaries immediately climbing to $1.3 million, and a long-term structure pushing max contracts to $2.4 million by 2031. Add in charter flights, expanded benefits, and true revenue sharing tied directly to league growth, and suddenly, this wasn't a lowball offer. This wasn't an insult wrapped in corporate language. This was a serious proposal. The kind of offer that normally leads to intense negotiation, not inflatable rats outside the NBA store. And that's what makes this moment so volatile. Because with stakes this high, with leverage this delicate, with public perception already shifting, every move, every appearance, every location suddenly matters.
Clark in attendance. This is like... And then suddenly if Unrivaled randomly picks up, let's just say Unrivaled, with all of that being said, they were able to get 400,000 viewers, which is a record for Unrivaled. Nothing crazy. Like 20% of what Caitlin would pull in an NBA game, half of what Angel Reese would pull in a big WNBA game. But like, even if you just go and do that, and you have any sort of capability of making this a big deal, and you can get those numbers from just Caitlin being in attendance and Angel Reese playing, then all of a sudden it's like...
And yet, here we are. A moratorium is in place. The season is in jeopardy. Negotiations are stalled. And Caitlin Clark, the single most important commercial asset in women's basketball, is photographed in Miami with Aliyah Boston during Unrivaled season, on a week when the competition schedule includes Angel Reese. Let that combination of facts sit for a moment. Because Clark isn't just another star. She is the reason these salary numbers are even possible in the first place. She is the reason revenue exploded. She is the reason attention followed. She is the gravitational center of the entire ecosystem. Now zoom out. Unrivaled is the 3-on-3 off-season league co-owned by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, the same two players currently leading the WNBA Players Association negotiations. The same two players who famously did not attend a critical face-to-face meeting with owners in New York due to travel issues from Miami. And how has Unrivaled been performing? To be diplomatic about it, not great. The league has been running. It's generated conversation. But the ratings? Rough. Despite real effort, real production, and real ambition, viewership hasn't broken through in any meaningful way. And then Caitlin Clark shows up in the same city. Instantly, the entire conversation changes. Because this is the reality of Caitlin Clark's gravitational pull. She doesn't need to play. She doesn't need a jersey. She doesn't need a microphone. If it's even suspected that Caitlin Clark is in the building, the audience multiplies. That's not opinion. That's a documented pattern. For 2 straight years, we've watched ratings spike and attendance surge whenever Clark's name is attached to anything. Now imagine this. Unrivaled confirms Clark is in attendance for a game featuring Angel Reese, who herself is a proven ratings driver. Suddenly, the most watched day in Unrivaled history becomes realistic. Not because Clark played. Not because she spoke. Not because she promoted anything. Just because she was there. One camera shot. One crowd reaction. One viral clip. And the internet does the rest. One analyst even suggested that Unrivaled should literally pay Clark to show up and watch. Make it an event. Market it. Name it. Build the night around it. Because here's the cold math. 400,000 viewers would likely represent a record for Unrivaled. But that's only 20% of what Clark regularly draws in a WNBA game. And roughly half of what Angel Reese pulls in major matchups. Yet for Unrivaled, that number would be a massive breakthrough. And that breakthrough matters a lot. Because Unrivaled's ratings are not just about pride or exposure. They directly impact CBA leverage. Here's why. Throughout these negotiations, WNBA owners have been shaped by one unavoidable reality: Unrivaled's viewership has been weak. And when a competing league struggles to build a meaningful audience, it reduces the leverage of the players who are financially and politically invested in that league. Which makes Caitlin Clark's presence in Miami, right now, feel like something much bigger than coincidence. Because in this moment, attention is power. And Caitlin Clark controls more of it than anyone else in women's basketball. If Unrivaled cannot prove it can attract real, meaningful viewership, then the threat of "we'll just go play there" loses power at the bargaining table. Owners can look at the numbers and reasonably conclude that the alternative isn't that threatening. But if Caitlin Clark simply shows up at an Unrivaled game and the ratings suddenly jump into record territory, without her playing, without her being announced, without any formal connection at all, everything changes. Because that would prove something enormous. It would show that Unrivaled's untapped potential has nothing to do with the product and everything to do with who is associated with it. And the player most associated with that potential is the same player now sitting in Miami, watching all of this unfold. Now, let's be honest. Does anyone seriously believe Caitlin Clark is about to start playing in Unrivaled? Probably not. At least not under current conditions. 3-on-3 is not the game Clark built her entire professional identity on. She is an elite 5-on-5 player. Her shooting range, her passing, her floor spacing, her pick-and-roll mastery. That game translates specifically to full-court basketball. 3-on-3 is a different animal, and it's not the version of basketball that made her the most important player in women's sports. Now, if Unrivaled ever transitions to 5-on-5, then the conversation changes completely. Clark has consistently said she expects a CBA deal to get done. She has made no public moves suggesting she's exploring alternatives. Her NBC analyst appearance looked like someone fully expecting to be playing professional basketball very soon. And the entire chess move theory is being built from one photograph. That matters. What doesn't deserve dismissal, though, is what the reaction itself reveals. The fact that a single photo of Caitlin Clark in Miami triggers league-wide speculation about labor negotiations, ratings strategy, and power dynamics tells you everything you need to know about her position in this sport. No other player could cause this. Not Aya Wilson. Not Breanna Stewart. Not Nafisa Collier. Not Angel Reese. Not any of the veterans leading the labor fight. A photo of any of them in Miami generates normal social media buzz. A photo of Clark in Miami generates CBA analysis and national sports coverage. That gap is the entire story. It explains why salaries are exploding. It explains why Unrivaled would see record ratings if she sat courtside. It explains why owners structure negotiations around her long-term presence. And she might just be there, hanging out with a teammate, doing absolutely nothing strategic. Yet the entire basketball world spent a day trying to decode her location. One photo, one city, and the entire ecosystem stopped to analyze it. That is Caitlin Clark's reality in 2026. She doesn't even have to act. The conversation follows her everywhere. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.